One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. So one of the other topics that's been fresh for you guys and certainly fresh around the industry the last couple of weeks with a lot of head coaching movement was Jim Leavitt's move from Boulder to Eugene to be the new defensive coordinator at Oregon. And you made some comments about what he may be getting paid in Eugene. But I actually want to connect that topic to your professional history, both with the Rangers and the PGA. Is there any comparison in professional sports, specifically the two you worked in, with coaching salaries for college football and how they have advanced so rapidly over the last decade? Is there anything in pro sports that you're aware of that would compare to this increased cost for a lot of departments in the coaching category?
No, I'm really not. I mean, in Major League Baseball, it's different. They go out and get the best coach they can get. I was just looking at NFL head coaches' salaries recently, and they're all in a range. And in college, they're kind of all over the map. And because there's so many institutions, there's not 32 NFL teams or however many baseball teams. We've got 300 plus, and it depends on the level. And then in Division I and the Power Five. So they're kind of all over the map, but they certainly have grown. And what's, a little bit surprising to me is that they've grown so much, with the coordinators.
Is it problematic?
Depends on where you are. Certainly, go ahead.
Did you have, you just raised $26 million. Did you have any donor that came to you and said, Rick, we can do another 300 or whatever the number was for Jim to keep him here?
No, it really didn't get to that point. Certainly we could have probably done that had we chose to do that. Look, when I got here 4 years ago, we were operating at a deficit. This will be our third year that we've had a surplus, and we're not going to pay the highest salary here. We want people that want to be at Colorado. We happen to think that we have the best jobs in the country. And, we want to attract people. We want to retain people that want to be here and support our culture and our mission and our values.
When you were leading the Rangers and your executive leadership positions at the PGA, from a purely business standpoint, when you walk in the office every day now at Colorado, does the operation of the business feel any different? Take the student athletes out of the equation. And of course, creating a first-class student athlete experience is at the top of everybody's list. But if you take that out of the equation, does operating the business feel the same between Colorado's athletic department and the Texas Rangers?
Well, certainly. Obviously it's a much bigger budget that you're managing. And I think the difference is in professional sports, at least in my experience at the Rangers, you have a group of owners that you need to go to when you need to make a decision that you need some help on. And when you're looking at revenues, a lot of it's tied to the tickets and how those are sold in your suites and those kind of things. And but there's a bottom line that the owners want you to hit, and it's important to hit, or somebody's writing a check, and you don't want that to happen.
And speaking of the PGA and TV deals, and of course there's the Pac-12 network's current deal, and in the future is a really interesting topic of conversation. But the PGA could opt out of pieces of their deal next year and be one of the kind of more prime properties on the marketplace until the early 20s when a lot of other stuff comes up. But do you still keep an eye on that stuff from a PGA standpoint? And what could their TV...
Is it the PGA or is it the PGA Tour?
I think it's the PGA Tour, excuse me.
So if it's a tour, look, I just read something, and, now that Jay Monahan has stepped into Tim Fincham's shoes, he's talked about, looking at things maybe differently. So who knows? Certainly, if they opt out and they sit down, the dynamics have probably changed when they negotiated the last deal. And I think I was there when they negotiated the last deal. So, that'll be Jay's to look at, and looking at the market and how it's changed, with things so much on your hand with the smartphones and digital and all those kind of things over the top. It certainly will make for an interesting decision point, I think.
Yeah, and they just did a deal with Twitter today, I guess, and I haven't read all the specifics, but it sounds like they're going to push some early round action, not exclusively, but onto Twitter, which Twitter's like the younger brother of the TV industry. If sports can tie together the cable bundle indefinitely, Twitter's like, trying to do the same thing, I think. But
well, look, we broadcasted the first game here, a soccer match that we had on Twitter with the Pac-12. And it was excellent. And, I watched it on Twitter, as a matter of fact, because I was out of town traveling. So, they do have capabilities. And so when you add those different entities and, the Googles and, Amazons, all the different entities that are out there, who knows where this is going? I mean, it's something that you got to keep an eye on closely.
Yeah, no question. So this time last year, I want to kind of think back a little bit. There was this big hubbub of Rick George is going to be the next athletic director at Illinois, and you had come out publicly and said, "I'm not going back," which Illinois is your alma mater, of course. But
Right.
When that stuff's going on in the media, how often do you, first off, even pay attention? But secondly, do you read it and go like, "Good Lord, like let it go"? I said I'm not going. But do you have to address that kind of thing internally with your president or with your team at all?
Yeah. I mean, certainly did, yes, because that discussion and that commentary was out there for a long time, and certainly I have a love for Illinois. I played there and I worked there, and my family's still back in Illinois, but my brothers and sisters. But so we addressed it, and my family is all out here with me, but both my daughters and two granddaughters, so. I wasn't going anywhere, and I love where I'm at, and we're starting to turn the corner in a lot of areas of our business.
What is at the top of your list when you say turn the corners of the business? What should we be looking out for Colorado to get done, say, in the next 12 months?
Well, I think what you've seen, we just built this Champion Center, and we're now looking at our next 3-year mission. We created a 15-year strategic plan. We have a vision for what that looks like. We will just complete our 3rd year of that plan. So we're now in process of looking at how do we go from here to here, and how do we consistently compete for and win championships. And when we talk about that, we're not just talking about athletically, we're talking about with our student athletes, how do we make sure that they achieve in all areas of their life, and how do we achieve in academics, how do we achieve in the community. And so we'll be looking at that, and we hope to have something in place by March that we will begin implementation in our next fiscal year, July 1 of this year.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.